Hello, I'm Mikhail Novikov. I'm founder of Reindex. We were the first GraphQL startup, in the world. We started doing it before GraphQL was even released. And after that, I worked on stuff like Apple Launchpad and GraphQL tools. And I'm going to talk about GraphQL Schema Delegation, which is also something I've worked on. And what is GraphQL Schema Delegation? So it's both a pattern in GraphQL of passing part of your query or your whole query to a subservice. And it's also a tool that helps you do that. So why would you want to use it? So imagine you have a GraphQL gateway, and you have several microservices that use GraphQL. Or you have a subservice that's a third party, and it also has GraphQL, like a GitHub. And you want to combine it in one GraphQL API, but you don't want to do all the manual work of passing the queries from the service. You want to have it automatically, because you have GraphQL. Why not use GraphQL and all the features and all the all the tools we have? So I'll just go with the example. So we'll have a very simple gateway and service schema, where we'll have one small service and one gateway in front of it that extends the schema of the service. So a microservice will have one GraphQL type, and we'll have a root field that retrieves this type by ID. And then for gateway, we'll still have this type, and we'll still have this root field, because it's we're reusing that schema. But we're also adding another type to it, and we're adding another root field to retrieve that type. And also we are providing links between the existing type on a service and the type we made on the gateway, and vice versa. So we don't really want to manually map the query that we'll get for repository type and send it to the subservice. We want to delegate role credits. So how will it work? So let's imagine we have a query to the gateway. So it's a really simple query, and it maps 100% to a query that we'll have on the service, because we're not querying for anything else. We're not querying for any data that we've added there. So it stays the same. But when we get more complex cases, like for example, we want to query for those nodes that only exist on the gateway, then the service needs to have this query filtered, otherwise there will be an error. It gets even more complicated when we want to forward inside the links. For example, if we're retrieving the node by ID, but we still want to have this repository. So probably on gateway we store the ID of the repository, and now we want to delegate that part that only queries repository. So it will look something like that on the service, because we only query for repository. It gets super complicated when we have fragments, because here we have fragments that have fragments inside the fragments, and it's we need to keep some fragments, but need to filter other ones. So it ends up something like that. So this is illustrates why you need a tool to do that, why it's hard to do it manually, because you need to do all this filtering, all this adaptation. So GraphQL Schema Delegation is executing a query or a part of a query on other schema. And the tool for GraphQL Schema Delegation adapts your query so it's compatible with the schema you have on a subservice. And it's available in GraphQL Tools version 3 that was released 1 month ago, I guess. And it's used in production by several companies ever since it wasn't a public API. And there are some related projects like schema stitching, which use GraphQL delegation behind the scenes, but allows you to automatically create a combined schema. And there's going to be a lightning talk about schema stitching tomorrow. There are schema transforms that allow you customizing delegation logic. For example, if you're renaming or namespacing your types. And there's GraphQL bindings, which is a programmatic interface to a GraphQL schema that's generated from a schema. It also uses delegation behind the scenes. And lastly, Apollo paid me for the work I did for GraphQL tools to implement schema stitching, so I really like to thank them for that. And thank you. Those are my cats.